Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining me here this early evening. Holy Game 7 drama. If you didn't watch NHL playoffs over the weekend, holy smokes, you missed out on some of the very best, most dramatic, fun filled hockey that we have seen to date. Uh, Man, it's games like Dallas and Colorado on Saturday night. It's games like Winnipeg and St. Louis last night that remind us that the NHL playoffs, game sevens, especially game sevens with overtime, are the absolute best events in all of sports. And I will fight you if you disagree with me on that. That was some epic hockey we saw this weekend. It's so much of why reasons why I love this sport, why I get so geeked out on it. Yeah, sorry if you missed those games, but it was just an epic weekend. What really makes overtime in NHL playoffs so great is, you are just one play. You're one shot away from complete elation, from complete exuberation, from this overwhelming sense of just this joyful emotion and relief. Or you're one play away from an absolutely crushing feeling of devastation, illness, just gut punch that ends all the work, all the dedication to what has been a very long season in a blink of an eye. It's over. And that's what makes game sevens just so damn exciting in my book. And it's why it's so devastating if you're a fan of St. Louis or of Colorado going back to Saturday night. Just some awesome hockey, awesome drama. The NHL can't be happier with what they got over the weekend. Only one game on each night, and they were both just, I would say, instant classics, especially last night's game. That was just an instant classic in my book. But let's look at some historical context over what we saw over the weekend. First question I'm going to ask here is how many times have we seen multiple goal deficits in the third period where that team has come back in a game seven? So we're talking playoff game seven, third period, down multiple goals. How many times has a team come back and won that game? Before this weekend, it had happened three times. Last time was San Jose versus Vegas back in 2019. Then 2013, Boston versus Toronto. I remember that game. That was another classic game. And then go back to 1979, Montreal against Boston. Guys, it happened twice this weekend. We saw something on back to back nights that we've only seen three times in the history of the NHL. That's incredible. That is just something like there's just no words for that. There's absolutely no words for that. Another historical question here is how many players have we seen score a hat trick in a third period? So all three goals in the third period in a game seven in Stanley Cup playoff history. I'll give you a second to count. One. And we've seen it once, and we saw it on Saturday night. And what I can only describe as the best sort of kind of Count de Monte Cristo revenge story for Mikko Rantanen. Three goals in that third period, and he just absolutely buries his former team in the Colorado Avalanche. Just epic. Like you can't write it any better than that. He leads the playoffs in points too. He's actually tied with Winnipeg's Kyle Connor, has 7 goals, 5 assists for 12 points. They both have 12 points so far. But man, he has got to feel good after what's been nothing more than a rocky season for him, an emotional season, leaving his forever club, and to go out and have that kind of performance in that third period, absolutely unbelievable. Going back to Saturday night, Colorado was in complete control of that game. And, when McKinnon scores that goal to open the third period, it had that feeling, this insurmountable feeling for Dallas, I would say, just within the context of how the game was going for the Stars at that point. The Avs had the Stars right where they wanted them to be. They couldn't, in terms of the Stars, they couldn't generate shots. They were struggling to get set up in their O zone. And really right before Rantanen scores the first one, Colorado almost got a third one themselves right before that happened. And really, Dallas only mustered 18 shots on goal during the entire game. Had you told Colorado's coach, Bednar, that that was the number, that you were only going to give up 18 shots for the game, I think he'd take that number and feel really, really good about it. I think he'd feel really confident about that. As I was watching the game, it was a funny night where my kiddo had a very long nap in the afternoon, which any parent of a toddler or a young one, that long afternoon nap can be hell later. And yeah, he was having a hard time sleeping. So he was up watching the game with me. He was actually just watching his iPad, watching cartoons. And once McKinnon scores the goal, I looked at my kid and said, well, I think it's time for us to go to bed because this thing's over. This thing is done. There's no way Dallas can come back from this, not the way they're playing. And it wasn't long after that, a few minutes later, when Rantanen makes it 2-1, and I'm like, all right, sorry, kiddo. I guess we're staying up. But yeah, that first goal by Rantanen really brought the house back to life. The building had, at least on TV, it seemed very quiet after Nate puts that second one in, making it 2-0. But you get back into it at 2-1, and you still have 12 minutes to go. So obviously that goal really kind of jump started the team, and it really started to change the just the tenor on the ice. You could see Dallas get a lot of energy from that. The crowd got back into it. So it was just great to see that building kind of come back alive. Rantanen's second goal, say a little bit of a lucky bounce. He takes the puck around the net and it goes off a skate of a Colorado player. But okay, fine, lucky bounce. But listen, Colorado got a bunch of lucky bounces in Game 6, so I don't think the Avalanche can really complain too much about a goal like that going in. And it was Rantanen driving the net, driving the play. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that one at all. And then the game winner, which is going back to Wyatt Johnston's power play goal. What a beautiful play here. Beautiful shot, beautiful pass from Shane. Rantanen also assisted on that one at the 16:04 mark. Bad angle shot from, I think he was on the left side of the net, and just not a whole lot of net to shoot at, and pops it in, making it 3-2. And you want to talk about a building just going up and the roof coming off the building. That was absolutely crazy. Of course, Mikko Rantanen adding the empty netter, making it 4-2, and just an epic, epic comeback, and one I just didn't see coming. Did not see coming after it was 2-0. Turning the page to last night, Winnipeg and St. Louis. I mean, I come back here for the Jets. The Jets seem so unlikely. Already down their top center, Mark Scheifele, coming into the game. And then during the game, of course, Winnipeg loses Josh Morrissey, their top defenseman, only 2 minutes and 9 seconds of ice time. So they play defenseman down most of this game, playing with just 5 D-man. And listen, you're also dealing with a goaltender that just looked mentally shattered coming into the game. And quite honestly, once St. Louis got that early lead, got that early goal, it just seemed like game over for Winnipeg. It really, really did. And man, it couldn't have started any worse. If you're Connor Hellebuck, you give up the first goal, okay, you bite on what was a really great pass from Parenko to Jordan Kyrou, and you have to kind of play the shot there. I mean, I'm not a goalie guru by any stretch, but I could see why you would have to kind of sit back and expect a shot there. Um, but when Hellebuck's on, he's moving quick enough to make that adjustment. But you could kind of give him a pass on that one. It's like, okay, tough break. But then the second goal, man, bad turnover by Connor on that one, and Joseph for the Blues just takes it, snipes it in blocker side, unobstructed view for Hellebuck, and one that when he's feeling good and when he's moving good, he saved that one 99 times out of 100. That one goes in, and you can just see the confidence just leaking out of him on that one. That's one he had to have. And once that went in, I'm thinking, oh man, are they going to pull him? I mean, are they going to get him out of there? Do you feel like if they get another quick one, he's probably out of the game at that point? I mean, I don't know what Scott O'Neill is supposed to do there. But listen, man, he battled through. And really, after that, kind of seemed to regain his confidence as that game got deeper and deeper and deeper. Yes, he does give up a third one, but the leaking is stopped right then and there. Obviously, you go to the end of the game, 2 goals for the Jets, under 2 minutes to go with the extra skater out there. And if you're the Blues, like it's like, okay, you're up 2 goals, 2 minutes to go. You give up the first one. I think like what was it, minute 55 or so left in the game. And it's like, okay, fine, we're fine. We'll get through this. But then they give up a tying goal with what was it, about 3 seconds left in the game. Just gut wrenching, just I'm sure for Coach Montgomery, it was probably just a stinging reminder of what his Bruins suffered through against the Panthers a couple years ago. I certainly remember that and remember all the horrors and hell of what game seven overtime can be all about. And now he's on the other side of it, as a wild card team looking to take out a President's Trophy club, and you're right there doing it. You're seconds away from doing it. Just a gut punch, if you're the St. Louis Blues, just an absolute gut punch. But man, amazing game sevens, full value to both St. Louis and the Colorado. I think both clubs are just in great position going into the summer and into free agency. I think St. Louis is a little ahead of schedule. And I think that's a lot to do with some of the moves they made. Some of the guys they got from Edmonton last year, bringing over Jim Montgomery. I think it's been a great fit there. I do believe that Central Division is going to be massively loaded as we go into next season. They did have 5 teams in the playoffs this season. Um, they're going to be loaded again next year. So good on them for making those great series. Winnipeg and Dallas moving on. So with those 2 improbable victories, I do round out my round one predictions. I was 5 for 8. I did have Washington and Toronto dead on with the games, but I could have very easily been 3 out of 8. If the weekend had gone differently. So I was quite happy to see those results. I did miss on Tampa, Florida. I had Tampa in that one. I did pick New Jersey over Carolina. Again, New Jersey was my Eastern Conference pick way back in August. Um, Probably one I should have rethought, but I kind of stuck with New Jersey on that one. And then I missed on the Kings and Edmonton. So, with all that said, we get to turn the page now to a fully set, fully locked and loaded round two. If the round two comes 80% close to what round one was, we're in for just a treat. It's going to be good. It's going to be good, man. Let's start with Toronto and Florida. This series kicking off tonight up in Toronto, 8 o'clock puck drop. Looking back at this series throughout the regular season, Florida got the better of the play 3-1 back in November 27th. Florida 5-1. Then they played 3 games this spring back on March 13th. Florida was 3-2. Toronto getting the better of them 4-2 on April 2nd. I'm sorry, 3-2. And then on April 8th, Florida 3-1. Having a hard time reading my own writing here. Sorry, guys. Goals for Toronto. And these are regular season numbers. All these numbers coming forward are regular season numbers. Toronto goals for 3.27, 3.26, good for 7th. And Florida 3.00, good for 15th. Goals against Toronto 2.79, that's tied for 8th. And Florida was 2.72, good for 7th. So obviously, 2 teams that know each other very, very well. A lot of familiarity with these rosters. Of course, you have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Anthony Stolarz, and Steven Lorentz all playing for Toronto, played for Florida last year. I know Stolarz and Bobrovsky, I think, pretty close friends. Goldie tandem. And listen, I'm said it a couple times on this channel. I'm not a big OEL guy, but they fit in well in Florida, and I think he's been a pretty good fit there for Toronto so far. And then, of course, on the other side, you have Brad Marchand. Brad Marchand. Man, the Maple Leafs just can't get away from this guy. I'm sure they're thinking, man, all right, we got him out of Boston. Good. Boston sucks now. Okay, fine. We get by Ottawa. Great. Oh, now we're going to play Brad Marchand again. You got to be kidding me, right? Brad has played the Toronto Maple Leafs 28 games in his career in the playoffs. In those 28 playoff games, Brad has 10 goals, 19 assists for 29 points. He's over a point per game against Toronto in the playoffs. Of course, we referenced that 2013 come from behind victory. Brad would have been part of that with Bergeron and the group. But a couple keys to the game here. I think first one I thought of is time and space. Florida does an awesome job of just taking time and space away from you. They play this suffocating style of defense where they're on you. They're on you. They're on you. They're always on you. Physical play, on the line, sometimes over the line a little bit. They do cross that line sometimes, but they just play this just punishing, physical. You might be able to survive it for a game or two, but in a 6, 7 game series, they wear you out. So really for Toronto, their offense, it's how can they be successful with that? They're going to have to be fast. They're going to have to move the puck fast. Listen, they know what to expect. It's not like the Maple Leafs don't know this team. They know them very well. They know they're going to get that suffocating style of defense. Can they answer? Can they be quick enough? Can they be efficient enough with their passing through the neutral zone to kind of break that? Because that's how you break Florida down. Don't let them get on you. Don't let them play that suffocating style. If you're not moving the puck quick enough, if you're not effective with your passing, if you're not effective through the neutral zone, that's where Florida is just going to pound you into oblivion. Toronto's got to be ready for that. And let's look at Toronto's revamped D. I think that's another key here to this matchup. Really, the D and the goaltending I kind of lumped together here, but they are a little bit deeper this year, more consistent goaltending this year. Has that improved enough to handle this Panthers offensive onslaught? Are they improved enough? Can these D men, can they make quick and accurate clears out of that D zone to put their offensive guys in good attacking positions? Especially in that transition game. I think the transition game could be huge here. So guys like, Brandon Carlo, and Morgan Riley and OEL, guys like this, Tanev, can they move the puck quick enough and get it up and out effectively and cleanly? Again, trying to beat Florida to the punch. Um, I think those are two big keys, and really these are more questions about Toronto than Florida. I just feel like we know a lot more about Florida. I think we know more of what to expect out of them. We've seen them the last couple of years do this. I do think it's more on Toronto to prove to us that they've improved, that they've changed enough of their identity to match what Florida has out there, match Florida's pressure. I do have Florida in this one. I do have them in 6 games. A tough one, though, a tough one to predict. All right, moving on to Washington and Carolina. That series kicking off tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. This series was 2-2 during the regular year. Carolina winning 4-2 back on November 3rd. On December 20th, Washington getting the better of them 3-1. Carolina 5-1 and on April 2nd. And then April 10th, Washington a 5-4 shootout win there. So 2-2, I'd say for Washington. I guess 2-1-1 if you're Carolina. I guess is how we would say that. Goals for here, Washington 3.49. They are second in the league in the regular year. Carolina at a 3.24, good for ninth. Washington on defense, goals against 2.79, goals against. That's eighth, tied for eighth. And then Carolina 2.80, good for 10th. A couple quick keys of this matchup here. Health of the goaltenders. Listen, both Freddie Andersen, Logan Thompson, they've been dealing with these injuries during the playoffs. Who holds up better during this series? Both great goaltenders, and both have looked good when they've been out there. Logan's been back. He had a 2.23 goals against in that first series, and Andersen a little bit. He was up there 1.59. So very, very good. Not a question of the ability, just a question of the health. The goalie, kind of reserves for both teams might be tested here, and they both have a little bit of depth in net. But I do think it's something to keep an eye on. Another key here is Carolina's goal scoring. Something I constantly question, something we've seen year in and year out is, do they have enough goal scoring? It's gotten them this far. They usually get through the first round like they have. But first round there, Svechnikov with 5 goals, and Aho had 3 goals. So that's 8, and the rest of the team had 11. So is that enough depth? I mean, it was enough to get by the first round, but if Washington's defense can take these guys out or take one of these guys out, do they have enough guys to step up around them to keep the goal scoring going? Something I'll definitely be watching for. I really think this will be more of a black and blue type of series. If the goaltending can hold up, it could be a very low scoring, very defensive, very physical type of battle here. I really look at this as a coin flip type of a series. I really do. Struggled with this one. I am going Washington. I am going 7 games. Again, because of the more defensive style and nature of this, it may be not the best for TV, but I think it's going to be an awesome series. I do have Washington in 7. Now let's move out west. Of course, the series that we just had decided over the weekend, Winnipeg and Dallas. Of course, Winnipeg with home ice in this one. This series will kick off Wednesday night at 9:30. Um, History here during the year, Winnipeg 3-1, uh, beating Dallas back on November 9th, 4-1. Dallas got their lone victory back on December 1st, 3-1. March 14th, Winnipeg 4-1, and back on April 10th, Winnipeg with a shutout 4-0. Goals for a game for Winnipeg, 3.35, tied for third with Dallas, also at 3.35. So both very good offenses in the regular year. Goals against per game, no question here. Winnipeg number one at 2.32, the Connor Hellebuck effect, and 2.71 for Dallas, good for sixth. So should be interesting. Some keys here, obviously, the aforementioned Connor Hellebuck. Has he conquered his playoff demons? I think it's going to be a real wild story to watch here. His numbers are not great. 3.85 goals against and an 830 save percentage through those 7 games in the first round. And those numbers are much, much worse on the road. Those splits are really, really ugly. Maybe we're going to learn something in game 3. He seemed to kind of figure things out. After that second goal went in, he started to kind of look like the old Hellebuck, but um, I'm not fully convinced yet, but we'll see what happens. I think another key here is just health of key players. We saw what happened to Winnipeg, but obviously, with Dallas, Miro Heiskanen, Jason Robertson, they missed the whole first series there. Can they come back for round 2? Where are they at? And these injured Jets, Mark Scheifele didn't play game 6 or game 7. Stanley didn't play last night for the Jets. And Morrissey, again, gets knocked out of that game, only playing a couple of minutes. These are big time pieces for both of these clubs. And all these guys can have a huge impact on this series. Injuries are part of the game. We understand that. We know that. You just would like to see fully healthy lineups and see these guys out there. Just want to see the best hockey you can, and really cheering for all these guys to get out there, that both of these clubs can hopefully be as healthy as humanly possible. This is the matchup I wanted to see. This is the matchup I picked. For me, Dallas just showed me a ton of grit by beating a very fast, very skilled Colorado team without 2 of those key cogs out there for that entire series. And yes, I think the Jets showed a great deal of relentlessness and ability to battle through struggles, not just injury struggles, but goaltender struggles, some mental hurdles out there, and rode that roller coaster ride right to the final seconds against St. Louis. So both teams, in my opinion, really showed me a lot. I won't be surprised if either team wins. I really won't be, and I think this might be more of another coin flip type of series. I do feel Dallas is a bit more battle tested at this point. I do have the Dallas Stars winning in 6 games. Finally, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Western Conference defending champions, the Edmonton Oilers. This series kicking off tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. This was a 2-2 series throughout the year. Vegas winning back on November 6th, 4-2. Vegas with a shutout on December 3rd, 1-0. Edmonton answers back 6-3 on December 14th. And then April 1st, Edmonton with a 3-2 win. So 2-2 there. Goals for a game. Vegas at 3.34, good for 5th. Edmonton 3.16, good for 11th. Goals against per game. Vegas at a 2.61, good for 3rd. And Edmonton 2.87, good for 14th. One note here for the Edmonton Oilers, defenseman Mattias Ekholm reportedly making progress, but unlikely to be available until after the second round. That's reported by Jason Gregor of Sports 1440 out of Edmonton. Keys to the series, guys. Can Calvin Pickard carry the net? Can he do it? He was brought into the LA series, I think, after game 2. I think he went in game 3. 2.93 goals against and an 893 save percentage through, I think it was 5 games he played in that series against the LA Kings. Not really sure if the team can actually turn back to Stuart Skinner at this point. I'd be really worried if that happened. And I think if it does happen, that tells you that things have really gone south, that Pickard has struggled. But that's what you have if you're Edmonton in net. Listen, Calvin Pickard has only appeared in 8 total career playoff games in his career. But despite that, listen, he is a veteran guy. He's been in the league a long time. He's 33 years old. It's not like he's a 22-year-old, in his second season in the league. So he's been around. But this net has been the Achilles heel for Edmonton all season. Skinner just kind of struggled, didn't have the same year he had a year ago. Listen, Calvin was fine in the last round. He played well, but can he do it again? Can he do it again? Or does this cost them a trip to the conference finals? We will see. We will see. Another key to the game is shots on goal. These are two of the top shots on goal teams in the league. Throughout the regular year, Edmonton averaged 32 shots on goal per game. That was first in the league. Vegas 30.3. That was good for fourth during the regular year. So just simply put, who's going to get more of those better quality looks? Who's going to muddy up the net? Who's going to, create the distractions for the goaltenders in front of the nets? I think that's going to be a real key here. And then lastly, specialty teams. Both PK units, I would say average at best. Edmonton was 16th in the league in their PK. Vegas was 26th. For as good as they are, their PK kind of struggled throughout the year. Vegas does have the second best power play, though, coming in. And, so for Edmonton, clearly here, if you're 16th in the PK facing a number 2 power play, stay out of the box. Stay out of the box. And for both clubs, really, your PK effectiveness is going to be very, very critical. These are teams that are very efficient. They move the puck very well. They play with a great team concept on both sides. And these are both clubs that when they're on a PP, they're 3-4 passes. They can score within 5 seconds, and that power play is over. So both of these PKs are going to have to be really strong and just stay out of the damn box. I would say for both clubs, two very shot heavy teams, but not just shot heavy, effective and fast, and just again play with really good team concepts in both cases. I do believe this will be a high scoring series. I think it's going to be high energy. And I think both of these teams are just loaded offensively. Going to Vegas in 7. It took me a minute on this one, but I'm going Vegas in 7. So I have got Florida, Washington, Dallas, and Vegas as my picks going to the conference finals. In other news, earlier today, the LA Kings announcing that GM Rob Blake and the organization are parting ways, mutually parting ways. Call it a firing if you want. I guess his contract was technically up. They're not going to renew him. So, yeah, not a shock here after what we saw, but it has been 8 years and no playoff wins during Blake's tenure there. And I think it's been 11 years since the LA Kings have won a playoff series. So, no question, things had to change. Now, with potential for new GM coming in, you do wonder about Coach Hiller. First year really kind of outcoached himself during that series. A lot of GMs like to bring on their own head coach. A lot of good candidates out there right now. You wonder if the Kings don't try to go nab somebody whilst there's some good candidates still left. But so some change there. I mean, if any LA Kings fans listening in here, I'd love to hear from you on this. Are you happy about this? Are you sad about this? I mean, I think probably after what you just witnessed, you're probably happy to see some change. I do think it was necessary. Uh, Also, here we do have the NHL draft lottery tonight. That is going down at 7 o'clock. So, right before the Toronto Edmonton game gets going. Odds here for that number 1 overall pick. Of course, the San Jose Sharks have the best odds at 18.5, followed by the Chicago Blackhawks, 13.5. Man, if they win it again, I think there's all hell's going to break loose. Nashville at 11.5, Philly at 9.5, and my Boston Bruins at 8.5. For you Bruins fans out there, I think as long as we don't fall into like 6th or 7th, I think as long as you're in the top 5, you're fine. I think you're fine. There's no Connor Bedard or Celebrini in this draft. There's no like clear cut number 1. I think if you're in the top 4 or 5, you're in really good shape here. All these clubs are going to have a chance to add really good player. And yeah, for the Bruins, it's been a while. It's been a while since we've been this low. I would just ask Don Sweeney, don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Please, whatever you do, don't mess that up. but will be fun to watch. It'll give us us losers, us loser fan bases, a chance to celebrate and have something to watch tonight before round two gets kicked off. And one final local piece of news here from the North American Hockey League. Of course, our Maine Nordiques are in the divisional final. They had a weekend up in Rochester, New York. One game, one lost game two, so tied 1-1. This is a best of five series. So game three will kick off on May 9th. That is up at the Coliseum in Lewiston, Maine. Puck dropping there at 7:30, followed by a afternoon affair on the 10th, 4:30 matinee for game four at the Coliseum. Could be a season ender for one of those two clubs, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, they've been great this year. They've been very consistent and a lot of fun to follow. So good luck to the Nords as we get back into that game three, back into that series. So everybody, thank you so much for watching and listening tonight. If you do like what you're hearing here, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. I do appreciate it. Enjoy the start of round two. Should be a lot of fun. And until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.